Alright, everybody, so how we doing today? My hair kind of looks like Boris Johnson's slightly. Russia-South Korea trade conflicting claims over alleged airspace intrusion. Moscow, Seoul. This is from Reuters. Russia's embassy in Seoul on Wednesday... Hold on. No. Said that Moscow has not apologized for any alleged airspace violation the previous day after South Korea said that a Russian attaché had expressed deep regret and blamed malfunctioning equipment. A Russian military aircraft entered airspace near a group of islands claimed by both South Korea and Japan on Tuesday during a long-range joint air patrol with Chinese jets, according to South Korea and Japan, which both scrambled fighter jets in response. South Korean warplanes fired flares and hundreds of warning shots near the Russian aircraft, and the incident triggered a round of diplomatic protests by countries in the region. An unidentified Russian military attaché in Seoul told South Korea officials on Tuesday that the plane appeared to have entered an unplanned area due to a device malfunction, said Yoon Do-han, South Korea's presidential press secretary. Russia has conveyed its deep regret over the incident and said its defense ministry would immediately launch an investigation and take all necessary steps, Yoon said. The officer said such a situation would have never occurred if it followed the initially planned route. So now they're blaming it on malfunctioning equipment. It was a joint effort between the South Koreans and the Japanese. No, pardon, it was the Russian-China. Pardon, excuse me. So did both countries' flights have malfunctioning equipment? Were they synchronized? They probably were synchronized. It's probably... honestly, while South Korea and Japan, honestly, they did overreact. Massive overreaction. But at the same time, I have to say, just take your plane someplace else. Just like I said yesterday in the initial report on this story. I said, just take your plane somewhere else. If they're going to react like that, then it's not worth it. Pick your battles. But now they're saying they had malfunctioning equipment, which makes South Korea and Japan look even crazier. And honestly, I'm not going to say that's necessarily what they intended from the start to make them look crazy, and that it was something more sinister. But I am leaving the door to that possibility open, because it might be the case, but I seriously doubt it. Their explanation seems reasonable. Hours later, Russia's embassy in Seoul said there had been no apology. The Russian side did not make an official apology. The embassy in Seoul said, adding it had noted many inaccuracies in the comments by South Korean Interfax reported. The incident comes at a delicate time for a region that has for years been overshadowed by hostility between the United States and North Korea, and has recently seen a flare-up in tension between South Korea and Japan. Russia's public statements on the issue have not mentioned any technical problems, nor has Russia announced any investigation or acknowledged a violation of South Korean airspace. Yoon said in a later briefing that after the attaché admitted a possible mistake and expressed regret, which was taken as Moscow's official position, Russia altered its account by sending a document stating that it did not violate any airspace. Demonstrably false. Russia also accused South Korean fighter jets of threatening the safety of Russian aircraft by interfering with their flight and failing to communicate, Yoon said. Seoul's defense ministry said Russia was distorting the truth, and it had evidence to support its claim. Russia's Ministry of Defense did not respond to a request to clarify the conflicting accounts. The document says that they might take a responsive measure if similar flights by the South Korean Air Force recur, Yoon said. What did I just say about that it being more sinister, and that they were trying to make Russia and South Korea look crazy, and then Russia distorting the facts here? That makes the possibility that much more likely if they're deliberately attempting to deceive. I think it goes without saying that Russia, as a state, has been known to withhold the truth or distort it toward their advantage. Hell, Putin himself was caught rigging votes. He had someone taking ballots out of one box and then dropping it into his, and it was caught on video footage. So, I mean, how honest can a state run by a guy like that be? I wouldn't think it would be very honest. But if it were something more sinister, what exactly would they be trying to accomplish? Maybe spying on their defensives, their achievements, etc., etc., something of that nature. Anyway, to finish this article up, an official at the Defense Ministry earlier told reporters it believed the intrusion could not have resulted from a system error. He did not elaborate, but another official told Reuters that the two countries plan to hold working-level talks on Thursday in Seoul to clarify what happened. While troops and naval ships from Russia and China have taken part in joint war games before, they have not conducted such air patrols in the Asia-Pacific Ocean region together, according to Russia's Ministry of Defense. China's defense ministry said on Wednesday that China and Russia did not enter the airspace of any other country during their joint patrols on Tuesday. South Korea and Japan scrambled fighter jets because both claim sovereignty over the disputed islands called Dokdo in Korea and Takashima in Japan. The two U.S. allies are mired in a deepening political and trade dispute, which fanned concerns that it might undercut three-way security cooperation to fend off North Korea's nuclear threats. The incident also coincided with the visit of a U.S. National Security Advisor, John Bolton, to South Korea. Bolton and his counterpart, Eui-yong, discussed a suspected airspace breach during a meeting on Wednesday and vowed close consultations in case of more such incidents, South Korea's Presidential Blue House said in a statement. So, to follow this up, I strongly believe that it's a possibility that this was something more sinister. Either that, or they were intruding in enemy airspace, or in their sovereign airspace and just didn't want to admit it. For some reason. That much I think we can say safely. Why they wouldn't want to admit it? Maybe because it was indeed something more sinister. Either that, or they just want to hide their flagrant disregard for the sovereignty of Japan or South Korea. Or possibly because the area is contested, they thought they could get away with it. Either way, this was a clear violation, and no amount of faulty equipment could have made it come about. That seems highly dubious. Yes, earlier I said that I thought it might be possible that it was somewhat vaguely believable, but as I scrolled down and saw some of the opinions of these officials, I thought, well, these guys would know a bit more about planes than I would, wouldn't they? So if you join me in future reports on this story, I think we can finally have some revelation on this and decide, okay, maybe this is something going on. But I seriously doubt that Russia can be called innocent of this. Not in the least. Anyway,